Every 2 months on average, a train derails in the U.S., spilling at least 1,000 gallons of toxic or flammable material.
An incident involving a train led to a hazmat response in Salt Lake City Friday.
5,000 gallons of diesel fuel spilled near Puget Sound in this latest derailment.
A train carrying hazardous material derailed near the state border.
Nearly 450 train cars carrying dangerous goods were either damaged or derailed last year.
The railroad industry largely regulates itself, without public reporting of risks.
Now, they will tell you that they're one of the most regulated industries in the country, but I would argue that they're one of the most unregulated industries in the country in comparison to where they should be.
We cannot trust industry to regulate itself, right? And that's why we have a federal government.
This is the state of America's railroad safety. Off the Rails is a new series of reports from the Howard Centers for Investigative Journalism at the University of Maryland and Arizona State University. The reporting shows just how little oversight exists for the sprawling network of rails and bridges that carry a wide range of freight, including hazardous material, across the country. When railroad bridge and rail inspections fall short, the consequences can range from disruptive to devastating for communities, ecosystems, and sometimes human life.
911 was the address of the emergency.
Bridge completely collapsed with the train on it. There is something dumping out of one of the freight trains into the river.
January 4th, 2025, Corvallis, Oregon. A freight train crosses an aging timber bridge, and then it collapses, sending 150,000 pounds of fertilizer into the Marys River. Inspections and repairs were done after a previous fire. The railroad company said the bridge was sound. Then it failed. In the U.S., railroads tasked with maintaining and inspecting their own bridges are not required to make inspection results public, even if they find something wrong. And data obtained by the Howard Center at Arizona State University shows, on average, more than 2 bridge-related railroad accidents every year, dating back 5 decades. The little federal rail oversight that does exist comes from a small group at the Federal Railroad Administration. To watch over America's 77,000 rail bridges, the agency had just 8 inspectors and bridge engineers. That's now down even further, to 6, after the Trump administration's federal workforce cuts.
When you look at the number of structures that they're responsible for and the number of people that they have to enforce that or to oversee that, it's an impossible task. And it tells you that the oversight that's needed for safe operations in the freight railroad industry is not being held to the standard that it should be, and it's frightening.
1967 marked a turning point in a national conversation about America's bridge safety, after a bridge in West Virginia carrying cars and trucks collapsed, killing 46 people. The next year, Congress required national inspection standards for highway bridges. But to this day, no similar standards exist for railroad bridges. In 2016, government auditors found structural failures of railroad bridges caused 21 accidents over 8 years.
The consultant recommended that the bridge be closed until equipment failures could be diagnosed. Conrail did not act on this advice and continued to operate the bridge.
In 2012, another accident brought the issue back into the spotlight when a train carrying vinyl chloride derailed over a bridge in New Jersey, dumping 20,000 gallons of the carcinogen into a creek.
I told my friend, I said, man, I've never seen fog like that. It's so white.
The chemical spill forced hundreds of locals to evacuate. Some of them got sick.
We can't even find out what condition, the railroad bridge is, that runs through our community. We don't know what's particularly being transported. It's alarming to not be able to know.
Representative Summer Lee of Pennsylvania is planning legislation to create new federal oversight of rail bridges.
With this bill, and what we're seeking to do is create some sort of standard, qualifications that they have to meet. Just similar, of course, to our highway bridges, that there is some accountability to somebody, the state or the feds. Number 2, we're looking to empower the Department of Transportation, right, to be able to create a database. It's so important for communities to know what condition these bridges are in.
So why haven't regulations to improve railroad and bridge safety already been put in place? Any attempts to tighten federal control face staunch opposition from the railroad industry, organized under the Association of American Railroads. AAR has spent tens of millions of dollars on political lobbying.
When you look at the AAR standards and how the railroads regulate themselves, they just do whatever they want to.
Jared Cassidy of the National Rail Union SMART-TD says that lobbying power convinced lawmakers to allow the industry to continue to operate without more oversight, inspecting its own bridges while pressuring their workers to keep the trains moving and revenues flowing.
It takes an unbelievable toll on how the industry is actually run. It's about Wall Street, it's about shareholders, it's about satisfying other investors that have a stake in how much money this railroad makes.
Industry representatives at AAR say oversight is best left to the rail companies themselves.
We have 140,000 miles of track in the United States. That's a lot of territory to cover. Traditionally, the railroad industry is responsible for its own infrastructure. It's privately funded infrastructure. It's not like the highway system, which is funded with public funds. I think just because of the vastness of the system, it's appropriate that the industry use its own inspectors. And it's a system, quite frankly, that's proven itself.
The public has access to detailed inspection results for more than 600,000 car and truck bridges, but AAR rejects this level of transparency for rail bridges.
The way in which our reports are written in terms of for internal use, it's certainly written in jargon in a way that's just not easily decipherable by the public.
It's really frustrating because the railroads have been very successful in keeping it the status quo, despite the fact that we almost wiped an entire town off the map.
The stakes are high for communities living near railroads that carry hazardous materials. Reporting from the University of Maryland's Howard Center now shows us just how many people are at risk. Reporters gained unprecedented access to data from sensors that tracked shipments of hazardous material on rail line sections from the U.S. Canada border to West Texas. In the first half of 2025, they found that at least 130,000 rail cars carrying hazardous material traveled on sections of this route, passing within a mile of 80 hospitals, more than 1,000 schools, and the homes of at least 2.5 million people. Despite the risk of bridge collapse and train derailments, attempts to tighten federal regulation and safety standards for railroads face an uphill climb. In an era of deregulation, advocates for reform worry the price of future disasters will be paid not just by companies, but by the public.